Hey, I'm Deepak. I'm a CTO and I work with founders to help build and grow their companies. In these Deep Talk series, I talk about some of the biggest companies today. How do they make money? How do they get started? And what do they do to grow into the companies they are? So today's episode, let's talk about Compass. Compass is a real estate brokerage that has filed to go public very, very soon. I'm recording this in April 2021, so that's a minute. If you're thinking about investing in Compass, or starting your own real estate company, real estate brokerage, or even in real estate tech, this video is especially relevant to you. So, what does Compass do? They were founded in 2012, and as of today, they have an estimated market cap of $6-7 billion, depending on what price they go public at. The firm has raised about $1.5 billion so far in all these years, and including they got money from SoftBank Group as well. Their most recent valuation put them at $6.4 billion post money. That was in July 2019. They are a real estate brokerage firm. What that means is they help people buy and sell their homes. And because they're a brokerage firm, they make money every time one of these transactions happens. They have primarily focused on the luxury real estate market. Therefore, they have their presence in markets that have luxury real estate. For example, New York City, Miami, DC, some cities in California. That's where their presence has been found. Because they focused on this particular niche of going after luxury real estate, that's one of the main reasons they have been able to differentiate themselves in such a saturated market. Now, the most similar comparable to Compass could be Redfin, but Redfin does not focus on luxury real estate. They're a bit more broader market. Compass, as of 2020, has an army of 19,000 agents. That's pretty sizable. So let's talk about how do they make money. Well, I mentioned a minute ago, they take brokerage fees every time they help someone buy or sell their home. And as far as market stats goes, if I'm trying to buy a house, I'm the buyer, somebody else is selling their house. So both of us ideally have our own brokers or agents that represent us in the transaction. The average commission in the US on a real estate deal is about 6%. The seller's real estate agent gets 3% and my real estate person gets 3%. So if Compass is the company that helped me buy my house, that means Compass made 3% on that transaction. To give you an example, if I bought a home for $500,000, 3% of that would be about $15,000, and that's Compass's revenue. Now, out of that revenue, they of course pay a big percentage of that to the actual broker that helped close the deal. Normally in an industry, this split between the brokerage house and the broker, so a company like Compass, Douglas Elliman, Remax, those companies, and the broker itself or the agent itself that has completed the transaction is about half and half. So out of that 3%, they might split 1.5%. But we'll dive into how Compass has been retaining some of the best brokers in the industry and what did they do to do that. Stay tuned for a minute. So as of now, you understand how Compass makes money. They take a percentage of any real estate transaction that they help facilitate. Buying a house, buying a property, or selling a property. So how much money do they actually make? Well, their 2020 revenues were $3.7 billion. And they made that money on facilitating about $151 billion worth of transactions. So that's just how much money got exchanged in the transactions they facilitated. They made $3.7 billion in fees, in brokerage fees. These are some big numbers there. And they made they made that one, so those $151 billion came from about 145,000 transactions. Now, stay with me for a second. 2020, $3.7 billion. In 2020, 2019, they made about $2.3 billion. The year before that, 2018, they made about $800 million. So they, as you can see, have been on a pretty good trajectory of growth. Now, I want you to be careful in how you evaluate this growth, because this growth, if you dig into the numbers, you'll realize has not been organic. They have facilitated it, boosted it using some nifty deals. Now, you're saying, well, that's the revenues. Well, D, what's their profit? How much did they take home? Well, the kicker is Compass is yet to turn a profit. Compass has, for each of those 8 years that Compass has been in business, it's kind of been turning up a loss, right? Net loss. Essentially because they pay out a lot in commissions, and they have, on top of that, they have sales and marketing costs and all that stuff. So let's dig into that for a second. 2020, out of that $3.7 billion, they still posted a loss of $270 million. Year before that, the loss was $388 million. Year before that, it was $223 million. So as you can see, 2019 kind of jumped in terms of losses. But 2018, 2020, pretty comparable, 223, 270. Now, well, what are they spending all this money on? Well, the biggest ticket item has been sales and marketing costs. They need to get the word out. They need people to know that Compass exists. That's how they attract more people to their brokerage, to their site, and that's how they close more transactions. So sales and marketing has in 2020 accounted for $407 million, which was pretty hefty. Year before that, 382. Year before that, 174. So they're spending a lot on that. Now, being a brokerage, one of their biggest expenses is paying out the actual broker that completed the transaction, right? That closed the transaction, right? So going back to my example, in the $500,000 that I spent to buy my house, Compass's top line revenue was 3% of that, $15,000. Compass didn't keep all that $15,000. They paid a big chunk of that to the broker itself. I mentioned half and half split, but Compass does not do that. In order to retain some of the biggest, best-selling brokers in the industry, Compass has been giving its brokers pretty good terms, better terms than industry terms. So the 50-50, keeping 50, giving 50, Compass has been actually giving the broker up to 70, 80% of that fees, of the brokerage revenue, and only keeping about 20%. So if you dig into the numbers, you'll see between 2018, 2019, and 2020, they, on an average, they're giving away almost 80%, 81%, even 81.2% of that top line revenue in compensation to its brokers. So out of that $3.7 billion they make top line revenue, they gave away $3 billion of that. On top of that, they had all these sales and marketing expenses, R&D, technology, all that stuff. So one more key nugget of information here before we go on to how I think they'll perform as a company. So we mentioned their rapid growth, right? Going from 800 million revenues to 2.3 to 3.7. How is that actually happening? Well, you also remember I mentioned that 19,000 agents. So Compass's growth strategy has kind of been M&A. They've gone into a market, looked up the biggest and the best brokerages, local small brokerages in that city, in that market, and bought them up so they can have all those agents working under the Compass banner. So they go into Chicago, go to DC, go to San Diego, go into all these markets and they buy up those brokerages. And that's how, and most of these, terms of how much they paid for these brokerages have kind of been kept hush-hush. That's a pretty good strategy on acquiring all this talent right away, because guess what? If you need to sell a house in that market, you need boots on the ground. You need those agents to close them. So that's pretty nifty. So let's talk about how we believe Compass does as a company. Well, Compass has been touting itself as a technology company. I just haven't seen a lot of that technology being the differentiator, right? At the core of it, it's a brokerage, right? People find Compass, find listings, close it out, that's it. And to bring this point home, if you're a technology company, you invest in R&D, right? Well, their R&D expenses have been 50 mil 2018 and 140 mil in 2020. So compared to your top line revenue, it's a pretty tiny percentage. If you just think about Compass as a brokerage and think about its multiple as a brokerage, it's a fantastic business. Right? The money they bring in, the amount of deals they close, the amount of transactions they facilitate, fantastic business just from that perspective. Second thing that they're doing is all that, the sales and marketing expenses that I mentioned, about $400 million that they spend. That's here's why they're doing that. A few months ago when we did the Zillow video, you might have noticed, you might remember, we revealed that Zillow makes majority of its revenue from the people that visit Zillow because they start their real estate search on Zillow, and they find listings, and Zillow sells their information to its agents, right? So a huge swath of the market just starts its search there. Now, if Compass, using its all the sales and marketing expenditure, can put a dent into that and start having people start their search on Compass as well, now you're talking, right? And Compass is starting to do that. One of the ways we see that is Compass on their own site. People actually go on there and they find listings. Compass has started showing not just their own exclusive listing, they've started showing the agents other listings as well. So you find all types of listings on Compass. Seems like that's the play that they're going after. Now, is that enough? I don't know. We'll see. If Compass really wants to make a dent, it needs to kind of think bigger, do bigger, and have kind of deleverage its play just from real estate. Zillow and Redfin, the way they're deleveraging is going after iBuying as a market. We spoke about that too. There's a couple of specific videos we've done on that, so definitely check those out. But if Compass wants to continue touting itself as a technology company to make more tech-focused M&A deals, make more acquisitions in tech, one such thing that comes to mind is Matterport. Now, Matterport sells these really fancy cameras that allow you to take a 3D view of the entire listing, your space, and kind of pieces it together so you can see a really interactive model of sorts. That can be game-changing. That has been game-changing in terms of viewing properties, especially virtually these days. So more deals of that sort can definitely put Compass and give Compass an edge from a technology perspective as well, which they seem to say that they have today, but they don't really. Right now, it just feels like a traditional brokerage. A lot of agents, having agents keep a lot more of the breakdown of the fees, investing in sales and marketing to bring traffic people to it. So yeah, traditional brokerage. There you have it, folks. Compass, fantastic business. Some key places where we need to kind of be careful about it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. If you did find it useful, I would. If you think somebody else might find it useful, really appreciate if you could forward it to them. Or even just like and subscribe below. It really motivates us, motivates me, and keeps us going. And if there's any other company that you'd like to know about, by all means, comment them in the section below. Be more than happy to cover them. We actually read every single comment, so please feel free to do that. This is Deepak Devjani. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.